Yes, carbon pricing, carbon reduction rate is a main driver for industry to take real actions to reduce carbon emission. So we need the carbon market, and perhaps we also need the carbon tax to work together to enable a carbon pricing scheme. We also need industry to understand the longer-term carbon price, what kind of carbon price level is needed for emission reduction. And if a long-term carbon price signal is clear, and they will take very robust actions to change the investment and operational behavior. And that's why we are also putting forward the need for internal carbon pricing from different industry and countries. Every country, every jurisdiction have taken very different approach in pricing carbon. And for example, in EU and in UK, carbon price emission trading is central in the policy for emission reduction. But in the US is just returned the Paris Agreement and is still evaluating different options, has not yet adopted a national carbon market. And China recently just started the national carbon market in July this year and have pilot regional carbon market from 2013. So different continents have very different situation, and it will take a bit of time to get it converged. Chinese carbon emissions contribute about 28 to 30% of carbon dioxide emission in the world, so it has a very substantial role to play. The total emission in China is now very close to the whole OECD country level. So the success of Paris Agreement and to achieve the Paris Agreement goal, China is an essential country need to participate in the scheme. So in the next 30 years, we believe the carbon neutral target suggested by China and the enormous investment made by the country will be very critical and important to drive emission reduction in the world and setting up the industry in low carbon sectors. I don't think it's very sensible to direct a majority of financial resource to China, given the funding demand for many least developed countries. But I will still see China will play a very important role in other developing countries and in China itself to help the world to push forward climate change agenda. Hopefully, you will, at some point, if you go to supermarket in Beijing, in Shandong, in Guangdong, you will see some of the product will be labeled by a carbon footprint. So for consumer who will have strong preference on reduced carbon emission footprint, we will have the choice to choose a product with lower carbon footprint. And we will also work on what kind of incentive the commercial sector or the public sector would like to offer to incentivize such activity. For example, give some token and discounting coupon for consumer with green behavior visiting the supermarket.